Hello everyone, Varskil here, and I'm offering $1 million to anyone who can correctly tell me how the Owl House series will end. Here's a stack of bills ready to go in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what?
Okay, I'm kidding guys. I always wanted to make a Mr. Beast intro for that Spice and Pizzazz. Maybe if I make a different YouTube channel. Anyway, welcome everyone to this 1-year Q&A anniversary special of this channel, and I hope you enjoyed this one. I gathered a couple of questions from all over. I was surprised how long this video became. Needless to say, I'll be spoiling the crap out of both the Owl House and the Amphibia series. The only thing not shown yet here is the Owl House Season 3. First question is from Gamer King YT. Question: who is your favorite villain in Amphibia or the Owl House? I've seen a lot of shows where the main villain gets redeemed somehow in the end. Though this is cool at first, this gets used too often and it became an easy way out for the protagonists to win outright. Therefore, for me, a great villain is someone who doesn't redeem themselves in the middle of the fight, no matter what. In this way, our heroes will really have to work hard to defeat this one. That said, for Amphibia, my favorite villain is Darcy the Core.
Let's rumble, girlfriend.
For the Owl House, Belos is my favorite villain. Finally, if I have to choose among these two, the winner is, drumroll please, Belos! Belos is my favorite villain overall. As to why he's my favorite villain overall, I will explain by a later question. But here's another question first. This question is asked by all of you guys. Could you make an Owl House or Amphibia video using the song? As you guys may or may not know, every 2 weeks, I would post something for Amphibia in the Owl House, whether it's an AMV or a short edit. It is to pace myself creativity-wise. This means I am limited to the music videos I can make. However, a request does get through, I consider the following 3 factors. First, whether a lot of people really want that song. This explains why sometimes I would make community polls among these requested songs. Second, whether making that video is possible given its lyrics and music. I'm afraid to say that some songs are just not possible to make an AMV on unless it is an animatic. Honestly, I wish I could do an animatic. Believe it or not, I'm actually left-brained and I suck at drawing. Finally, the third factor is whether I like the song myself. Usually I like many songs of various genres and decades, but note that when I make stuff, I focus more on the 2010s and 2020s, as you guys seem to more relate to them. In general, I want to challenge myself using songs that are not used often by others for Owl House or Amphibia videos. That is why I have my personal StormriderVarskil song restriction list. These are popular songs used by other people in making Amphibia or the Owl House AMVs. It doesn't mean that if somebody used that song once, it means it's part of the list right away. There must be a lot of people using that song to be in this list. That is why, for those songs in the restriction list, I will eventually do make a few of them via our subscriber specials, which will reach a certain number of subscribers and we have fun by making the Owl House or Amphibia AMVs of these popular songs. How did they come up with this list in the first place? That is after watching hundreds and hundreds of AMVs for both series. I like watching them as I like making them. The next question is from Sylvia Schultz. Just curious, what do you first thought of Belos at the end of Season 1 and Philip elsewhere and elsewhere? At the end of Season 1 of the Owl House, I considered Belos as the most dangerous witch of the Boiling Isles. At first thought, he wanted a portal so he could conquer new worlds, because if one watches the Amphibia series, that's how the villains of Amphibia wanted. So I thought Belos, as the Owl House villain, is going to do the same as his endgame. So when Luz destroyed the portal at the end of Season 1, he had that go of Luz, Ida, and Lilith, because he had no more portal to use. He had to find another way to make that portal. Therefore, he considered them to be inconsequential to his plans. But then, when Philip Witherbane was introduced in Season 2, I had a suspicion that he was related to Belos somehow. In Eclipse Lake, Following Philip's journal, I already had that suspicion that Belos was actually human, but it's mainly confirmed here.
You know, I've been there before. Did I ever tell you that?
My thinking was being a descendant to one of the two brothers. So probably Belos, wanted to return to the human realm just like Luz and Philip. Finally, elsewhere and elsewhere. Though Belos was human, he can be a descendant of Philip, or his older brother. Note that even though I am not an American, as someone fascinated by world history, I already learned of the Salem witch trials, so I learned and understood the key references in the series. Anyway, in Elsewhere and Elsewhere, after the reveal that Philip was tricking people through his journal, we the audience were all surprised that most, if not all of his writings in the journal were false. So, all those fan theories, analysis of his writings became pointless because Philip was a manipulator himself. So, later in the episode, when Lilith said,
"The confidence, the compliments. He says everything you want to hear. It feels uncomfortably familiar."
It was at that point that I realized he wasn't a descendant of Belos, he is Belos. Finally, the ending of Elsewhere and Elsewhere. When he was revealed to be Belos, it really contextualized many things. Though we know that his journal was fake news, it raised even more questions. What would be his overall motive then? It did not seem to be conquering new worlds that I originally thought. He hated witches, sure, but at that point in the story, I was wondering, why did he have to do all of these? Because after all, Belos had already ruled over those witches he hated. He has them at the palm of his hand. He has the power and all that. As a hater of witches, he did not need to do anything. He is so well loved by them. It is like having everything a human wanted. He already has the money, the fame, and the power. Okay, he has no awesome girlfriend. But still, I know some may argue that Belos wants the fame and glory in the human realm. However, I don't actually agree with that. I would rather be an emperor of a foreign land instead of being a random person that destroyed a civilization that I myself once ruled. Something does not add up.
Here we are, the final puzzle. Oh, I'm so excited. Guys, kill the vibe. Thank you. Now, where was I?
But knowing what we know now, he clearly wanted something even more important than that. And it supports this philosophy that I will explain later. Because when I explain his true motivations later, it will reveal something about myself that may surprise you guys. Warning, some of you may not like this fact about me, and many of you will probably unsubscribe after this video.
Oh, no, you're Belos! You're just Belos!
Okay, don't worry, Luz. I'm not Belos, okay? Anyway, there are two personal gripes I have with this Belos reveal. First, why didn't Lilith warn Luz that Philip could be Belos? She didn't make that connection. She was already in the right track when she said,
"He says everything you want to hear. It feels uncomfortably familiar."
At least when they returned to the Owl House, Lilith would have warned Luz that he could be Belos. Of course, at the end of the episode, we the audience were treated to a major reveal that Philip was 100% Belos. But let's face it, when Hollow Mind came along, having that prior knowledge from Lilith, that would have softened the blow with less PTSD for Luz. My second gripe is for the storytelling to the audience. Because I think, for greater impact, the Owl House team should not have revealed this final scene of Philip revealing he was Belos only when he replayed it to Luz in Hollow Mind. If that happened, we would have been so shocked as Luz by then. But probably the reason why the Owl House put this in an earlier episode, like Elsewhere and Elsewhere, instead of Hollow Mind itself, is that many younger viewers might be like Luz the next day.
King, Hootie, you know what to do.
Or that Hollow Mind will have this at the beginning of the episode.
This episode has some intense final scenes. It might be scary for younger viewers.
This is also similar to Amphibia, when the beginning Season 3 trailer revealed what happened to Marcy after the Season 2 finale True Colors. It would actually be much more horrifying if this was never shown in the trailer at all, but in the actual episode when that thing happened. This, people, is the real PTSD. Now for the final unanswered question from earlier. So what is the motivations of Belos then? From my perspective, the short answer is for Belos to have a good place in the afterlife. The long answer is more complex than that. Also, I will now reveal something about myself which some of you may not like, so get ready. But let's be mature and civilized, folks. Feel free to disagree. Here goes. The long answer is this. For you see, as a Catholic and Christian, we believe in the afterlife. That God is giving us the life we have now to live once as a test, for our deeds in this life will determine what that happens to us in the next. This is how Belos also thinks, except for one major difference. The people of Belos of Caleb's time were called Puritans. This is a group of non-Catholics in the 1600s who historically were part of the early settlers as the British colonized the east coast of North America, which is now the US. This group of non-Catholics held this belief that witches were evil or spawns of Satan. Caleb, his brother, eventually changed when he saw that the boiling odds were people of good-natured folk. However, Belos didn't change and thinks he can have a better place in heaven and was willing to sacrifice everything for it. He cannot bring his money, fame, and power in the afterlife, so he believes he is doing God's work.
I just need to live long enough to see this through.
But unfortunately, I can say that this is definitely not the way. Without becoming too religious here, as written in the Bible, Jesus teaches us to love God as well as to love your neighbor as yourself. This is the opposite of what Belos is doing to everyone in the Boiling Isles, to Blue Fang, to his own brother, to all the Grimwalkers he eliminated, and many others. This also explains why after Luz tricked Belos into getting the sigil, he had no intentions of stopping the draining spell at all. He didn't care if he was suffering. As long as his twisted plan is carried out, he was willing to go down fighting. All in all, this is why Belos is my favorite villain. He was thinking he was the hero, but in reality, he was the enemy all along. So guys, this is a good warning for all of us, including myself, that even if we fight for something, such as for freedom, for respect, for representation, be careful that we do not become a hated, narcissistic, evil monster in the process. That is, we do not become the evil we wish to vanquish. Instead, no matter who we are, no matter who we deal with, we should be a people of love, tolerance, and understanding.
Thanks, Hunter.
What is this? Just go with it.
There's an old saying, it is better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. Whew! This turned out to be a Belos commentary video by accident. Let me know your thoughts on any stuff you guys want more clarity, or maybe I should start doing video essays like this aside from the music videos. At least when you guys request for an Owl House or Amphibia video, you now know where I'm coming from. So thank you guys for all your support throughout the year. It's been a lot of fun making this video. Hope we can grow a community and keep this channel for another year. I want this channel to be a safe space for everyone. We may not necessarily have the same exact opinions, but at least everyone respects one another. See you guys around. Cheers in 3, 2, 1.